Hey, it's Des back with another video. On this one, I'm just gonna talk about obviously, the transfer window's closed, so just gonna talk about like our squad depth and what we've done this window. So straight into it. Just to begin with, I'm not gonna come and say that it's the end of the world or it's a disaster or anything like that. But for me, I feel like the way we've ended this window, it's just like it's a missed opportunity, and it shows like for me, it shows the lack of ambition as well. Because when you think about it, even you look at Man City, their depth is not as strong. Obviously, we're not going into the season thinking that we're gonna win the title. We're obviously just trying to get top four. But when you look at Man City, you feel like their depth is not as strong this season as it was last season. If you look at Liverpool, they're a little bit shaky. You look at Chelsea, they're not as good as obviously they've made some signings, but they're not as strong as they were, or they're not as consistent. You look at United, yeah, now they're starting to bounce back, but they didn't start off really well. You look at Tottenham, they're winning games, but they're not playing really well either. And you look at Liverpool, they're a bit shaky as well. So it's like you don't just, for me, we shouldn't just see that as, oh, okay, then it just allows us to get top four a lot easier. No, you have to think about there might be an opportunity this season for something, so put yourself in position to try and make something happen. For me, there's no reason to leave the squad incomplete. Like there's no reason to go into seasons incomplete. We keep on doing this over and over, where we go into a season with an incomplete squad. For me, it's for me that's not good enough. Regardless, if you look, even though you look like looking at our best signing this window, which is Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, just looking at the way how much they've improved our team, basically just shows us what couldn't be possible if we did that with the other positions that we needed as well. So again, I'm not gonna say oh it's a disaster or anything like that, but I feel for me it's a missed opportunity. But just let's look at our squad depth going into the season, and obviously up until January, we might make some changes here and there. But let's look at the goalkeeping position. We've got Ramsdale and Turner. Obviously, in terms of the goalkeeping positions, we know like we're not likely to have like massive injuries in that situation. So I'm fine with the number one being Ramsdale, and obviously we've got the backup in Turner right there for Europa League games or other like the cup games and things like that. So I feel like in the goalkeeping area, we're fine right there. In the left back area, I'm comfortable with Zinchenko and Kieran Tierney for now. I love what Zinchenko is offering us. I love what Tierney is offering us as well. He's more solid defensively, so I love what he offers there. I feel like Nuno Tavares, who's on loan, eventually will come back and offer us what Tierney will come back here. I think for me, I think he can come back and compete with Tierney for that position in terms of the fullback that offers more of like an overlapping style. Because Zinchenko moves inside quite a lot, but Tierney and Tavares are ones who want to overlap the winger instead. So he offers that option. So I think when he comes back from loan, especially because Tierney has all these fitness issues and things like that, I think he can compete for a position with Tierney. Let's look at right back as well. I said for me, right back was a position of priority as well, although not as much as a priority as other positions. But for me, I feel like, for example, I feel like we should have got like a more offensive right back, someone like a bit of someone like who's offering what Zinchenko's offering. If you look at what Zinchenko's doing in the final third, and you look at when he's not playing and how we've basically missed him, you can think about what could be possible with a more offensive right back as well. So I feel like we missed out on the opportunity to have right back. Although I'm not too concerned about it because I love what Ben White has done there so far, and I love what Tomiyasu offers there. Of course, I don't want us to like. I'm fine with that situation because I know we're not like it's gonna take a while before we end up with Cedric playing as a first choice. Because obviously we've got Ben White there, we've got Tomiyasu, so it's not immediately gonna be Cedric. So for me, I'm comfortable with that situation. But I think long term we do need to look for a more offensive right back, someone who's more comfortable in the final thirds in terms of making things happen. We look at the centre backs. I'm fine with the centre backs. I love the options we've got. We've got Gabriel, we've got Saliba, we've got Ben White, and we've got Rob Holding. So for me, before we even get to Rob Holding, who's obviously the weakest of all the centre backs there, before we get to him, we have to go through Gabriel, we have to go through Saliba, we have to go to Ben White. So for me, Rob Holding is good enough to offer what we need in terms of like cup games or like Europa League games, or even if we need to go to a back three and bring someone on, he can for me he can do it. He can do that job for now. So I like what we're offering there. Obviously, long term, we would like to move away from Rob Holding and get maybe even a left-footed centre back there to back up Gabriel right there. So I love what we have at centre back. I feel like we're comfortable in terms of like the back four going into the season, and the goalkeeper. I think we've done well there. I'm fine with with where we are in terms of that position. Now let's go into midfield. We look at the midfield. We look at Partey and Elneny there at defensive mid, and even Lokonga, who for me long term might be an option at the defensive mid instead. For me, I'm not. I'm not too much of a, because I know obviously some people are losing their minds about the fact that we've lost Partey and we lost El Nini as well. Well, for me, there's not much you can do about that. I mean, you go into a season with 3 options in that position with Partey, El Nini, and Lokonga. If 2 of them get injured, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? You can't have 4 options, 4 defensive mid options. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just, because then what happens if they're all fit? You can't just have 3 defensive mids on the bench, sitting on the bench. And for me, El Nini is only here because Lokonga is still obviously developing. So he was given I think it was a year contract just whilst Lokonga is still developing into that position. I think long term, he might be the one that will go in there. I liked his performance, Lokonga's performance against Aston Villa. But for me, that's not the team where you're going to see what his flaws are. That's the team where we're dominating the game. So he's going to show he can pass and he can carry the ball, which we already know he can do already. What we need to see from him is his positioning when we're defending. If he can mark runners that are trying to make runs off the ball, mark runners who are trying to run it in his, make runs in his shadow, like behind him and all that sort of thing. It's just like being switched on to players in a wide area, so he can go right there to close them down. If he has to go close down players in the left wing as well, he has to go there to go and help the fullback. He has to be able to do that as well. He has to be sharp when teams make cutbacks into the box, so he can intercept the ball as well. Those are the kind of things that Partey offers us that Lokonga will need to learn. Obviously, it takes time, which is why Anini was given a contract. But for me, in terms of Partey, Onini, Lokonga as options for defensive mid, for me, I think that's fine. I don't think we should have gone crazy and tried to, like, you know what I mean, get another defensive mid again. Like, it's just too much. Long term, of course, we're gonna need to move away from Partey, because we can't keep on going into every single season knowing that he's not gonna play half of the games. You know what I mean? Like, so you can't keep on doing that every single season. So long term, I like what Lokonga offers, but long term we're gonna have to move away from both Partey and El Nini. So we have Lokonga and another player vying for that position right there. Then we look at centre mid, the position that all season I've been saying I feel like we need to improve. For me, again, as I mentioned in the last video, I love what Xhaka offers in that position. I love the engine in terms of, like, he's getting up and down into the box and he's switched on, understanding that he needs to also drop deep as well. He's not, you know what I mean, he's not just gung-ho and going all the way there and refusing to come back. He knows when to go up, he knows when to come back, he knows when to support the front 4 and make it front 5, and he knows when to come back and support the midfielder here, just so he's not isolated in this area defensively. So, but that aspect of knowing that, making sure the defensive mid is not isolated there, is the reason why, although I've seen people mention that we've got Smith Rowe and Vieira who can also play in that position. For me, we need to remember that Smith Rowe has mainly been used as a left winger and as a 10. So he's rarely been used in this centre mid role, because this centre mid role is completely different to that centre mid role. This centre mid has more defensive responsibilities. As I've mentioned with Xhaka, he knows when to come back and support the defensive mid. So Xhaka knows that, but Smith Rowe still needs to learn that. So of course, I'm not saying that Smith Rowe can't develop this. For me, I feel like Smith Rowe has the qualities we need on the ball in that position. He has the qualities to play that role. Yeah, even Vieira, he has the qualities to play that role offensively, but defensively, he's gonna have to learn. He's gonna have to learn how to play that role defensively. The same with Vieira. Vieira last season for Porto only played centre mid twice, and both times he came off the bench. So it's not a case whereby we know what these guys can offer in that position, because this position is not the same as the 10 position. So it's not like we don't know what they can offer in that position yet. So I don't feel like it's smart to go into a season just thinking that these guys are gonna offer something in that role. We don't know that, because what if they don't? You know what I mean? So that's not a good plan. And then in terms of Lokonga, for me, he's more of a defensive mid. He doesn't, in terms of, I mean, I know he can play this position. But again, the same with Smith Rowe, with Vieira, or less of that, because he of course understands that he needs to drop back defensively. But in terms of what he offers in the final third on the ball, Lokonga doesn't offer too much on the ball in terms of in the final third. He's not offering too much in terms of being productive or in terms of finding players there. Of course, he hasn't played that position as much. So we're going to see it this season. But again, it's another unknown as well. I always say the same thing. In terms of young players, you should always let it be a pleasant surprise that they surprise you. You know what I mean? Like Jack Wilshere comes in and surprises us. Ramsey comes in and surprises us. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be something that our season is dependent on this young player becoming this guy. Of course, Smith Rowe, Vieira, Lokonga, they could all develop into the player we need in that 8 role. Completely. When I made the video for the midfielders, Smith Rowe and Vieira were options, as well as Patino were options in that position long term. But going into this season, we can't just rely on the fact that these players might become that player. We don't know. So for me, that's not how you plan. You don't plan on this young player might have a breakout season. You don't just rely on that, and it's putting too much pressure on those players as well. So let's go to the 10. For me, the 10 area is fine. We've got Odegaard. I love the potential of Fabio Vieira and also what Smith Rowe can offer in that area. I think Smith Rowe, even in that area, is very direct, and he can, in terms of what, remember what I've mentioned before about Saka being isolated in this area there. Smith Rowe wouldn't let him be isolated because Smith Rowe will consistently overlap with Saka, move to the right, and let Saka move inside. So that's that he'll bring something completely different to that position than Odegaard, who drops deep a bit more. Fabio Vieira, from what I've seen of his videos and stuff, he offers those kind of half space crosses into the box from that area. He does that. He's more likely to make these balls, like force these balls into the box more so than Odegaard. So all three of the options that can play this position, for me, they all offer something different. So I'm fine with the 10 role for now. I'm fine with that position. So let's move into the front three, or let's move into the wing areas. For the left wing, we've got Martinelli and Smith Rowe. And then for the right wing, we've got Saka. And then, of course, I've put there Nelson and Marquinhos. For me, we don't know what Nelson and Marquinhos are going to offer. We don't know that yet. For me, that's not planning. I just put those names there just to have a name there. If they blow up and turn out to have an explosive season, then fine. But we've gone into a season with no backup for Saka. Again, he's going to go to a World Cup. He's been playing consistently over again. He's 20 years old. He's been playing consistently. He's going to go to World Cup, come back. He's going to play for England at the World Cup, come back, and then he's going to continue to keep on playing important games as well with no backup. You've got Martinelli here, who for me, our primary system on our plan A is having Martinelli and Saka out wide, offering with 1v1 quality, receiving the ball deep, receiving the ball long, receiving the ball to feet, receiving the ball in 1v1 situation and facing their man, receiving the ball aerially, constantly making runs behind, you know what I mean, constantly forcing defenders to go back. That's our plan A. There's nobody on the bench that can offer this plan A. Yes, I understand that Smith Rowe can offer an alternative to what Martinelli offers in that role, in terms of he will drift inside, you know what I mean, so that offers something completely different, meaning that the left back will have to overlap. Yes, that's something completely different. We might have games whereby we need more presence, or we need more quality in the midfield, or we need more numbers in the midfield, more like, you know what I mean, more players in there that can, so we can like have like a, how do you call it, we can outnumber the opposition in that area of the pitch. That's fine as well, you know what I mean, we could be able to do that as well. But I don't think there's a I don't think that helps our plan A. Because if we want to go to the plan A, we have to consistently keep on playing Martinelli and Saka. If we want an alternative, yes, we can go to Smith Rowe on the left, we can go to Vieira on the right. But in terms of continuously playing that plan A, it's only Martinelli and Saka. This is why I feel like we should have signed a winger, but we didn't. A winger was a priority, just to ensure that we can continue with that plan A and consistently make sure that Martinelli and Saka are not just the only option for the plan A, because we might want to change that off the bench. We have nothing. I know some people are saying, oh, Jesus can play there, Nketiah can play there. That's not depth. That's just taking place from other positions and just acting like they're depth in other position. Jesus is also not going to be playing 38 games. He's also going to go to the World Cup as well. So he also needs another option as well to you know what I mean, to like rotate with him, compete with him, give him depth. Sometimes we might want to go into a situation whereby we have both wingers and both strikers up top. We can't just rely on Nketiah being the depth for all four of these positions in terms of maintaining our plan A. That can't be the case, you know what I mean? Because as well as these guys, as good as these guys are, they're not as good as what Martinelli and Saka offer in the wide areas. They're gonna drift inside because naturally they're gonna want to go inside. They're not gonna stay out wide like that, stuck, you know what I mean, like and offer that sort of thing consistently, as well as Martinelli and Saka are doing. So for me, I think we've missed a huge opportunity in terms of signing a third player that can compete with both Martinelli and Saka and maintain our plan A, because that being able to maintain that plan A consistently is what will help us in the season to be able to remain consistent throughout the whole season. And I think we've missed out on that. I think we've missed out on a winger, and we've missed out on the centre mid, because although Xhaka is good, I think he needs competition. We need something else in there to compete with him. Even though I like what he's offering, I think that we can upgrade in that position and improve in that position. And I think we've missed out on not adding a winger and a centre mid. But anyways, that's my opinion on the transfer window and on our squad depth from now up until January. See you in the next video.